Please coach me.
So Marcel, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Yeah.
How did you find the class?
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Of course, I have to say that now. But no, it was cool. It was actually
it was
very
actually
insightful.
Yeah. Now I know what's exactly needed from these coaching sessions. So let's make sure that the video this time is spot on. So let's start with the goals. Do you have a short-term goal in mind that we haven't discussed so far? And if you were successful, what would this goal actually look like?
Okay, I have a short-term goal. Let me look at my week. Yes, I will. Hard to say that. I have a kind of a free week after that, so I'm done with the course before. I only have an assignment with that, which means that I have now till next Monday to have an actual course.
Mm-hmm.
I think what is important for me now is I don't indulge too much into leisure and let the important stuff fade away.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, your goal is to not sort of be on track or be more committed to the work that you're supposed to do and not indulge too much in pleasure or leisure. And is this something that you have encountered recently? Is this a habit that you form sometimes? Is this something you have experienced in the past?
Let's say that way. I usually do not struggle with any kinds of assignment in the way that it all performs out very well usually, right? So I tend to procrastinate. Because in the end I'll do it anyway, and it always worked. There was no occasion it never worked, so why not doing it, right?
Okay.
That's like my subconscious. But I think important for me is exactly just like make sure that I keep I start the track for the things that are more long term in the way that but like a little inconvenient and not that fun. Let's start doing them. So for instance, the long paper I talked about as another session, doing the assignment for the other course. What else? Starting the search for an apartment in San Francisco. Maybe mapping out the tour that I do want to do to San Francisco. So a lot of things that I have to do that don't have a deadline, but needs to be done, and I want to get started with it and combine it with the rest I have.
Okay, so in your opinion, what's hard to take up and what's easy to actually plan for? Because most of the tasks that we have discussed so far are actually, there's a mix of some things that have to be done in the next few days or weeks, and there are things that have some time before you can actually approach them.
Exactly.
As an example, San Francisco can be something that you can do so or work on at a later date, while some other things, especially with regards to the academics and the electives that are coming up, have to be done very early, at an early stage. So which do you find harder or which do you find easier, doing things that you have time for or doing things that you are short pressed on time for? So let's just begin with that.
I think I'm better in doing something that presses on time, because I know that I have to do it and I don't have excuses or something, so I'll just do it. So if the deadline is tomorrow or like today in the evening, I'll do it obviously, and it works out. So yeah, I think my biggest struggle is with tasks that have no certain deadline or a deadline that is so far away that I can postpone it and always find something more urgent.
What's your thought on an experiment where you do things the other way around? Something that is pressing, maybe as in hypothetical situation, you have a deadline for an assignment in the next 2 days, and you have something that you have to do, which is due in 2 weeks. Why not try this? Why not do something that's not pressing? Just start with it
Let's just start with the 2-week assignment instead of the 2-day assignment.
Just start with it. Obviously, you have to do the 2-day assignment before the deadline, but this might be something, because you say that you struggle with these tasks that do not have an urgent deadline or are not of not prioritized at a high level right now. So, is this an experiment that you might be interested in? Is this something that you would want to do?
The thing is, I don't see the real use in like starting with an assignment that is 2 weeks ago instead of the one that is 2 days ago. But what that brings me to the idea that I might need to slice it down differently.
Okay.
So I'm thinking if I would slice down the 2-week assignment, which is a longer, more important one, the hypothetical one, into more approachable steps, and commit a time of the day to that, I could better start working on that.
Okay. So let's talk about some ways you can evaluate yourself with regards to these tasks that you have, some important, some not so important. So how confident do you feel about the assignments that you have to finish as soon as possible? And what's the level of confidence that you feel when you encounter some tasks that are not urgent or not pressing at the moment?
I feel confident about the assignment that is due next weekend, which is from my other class. That shouldn't be a problem. I will do that, but I definitely will just do that every day a bit. I feel less confident about starting the bigger task, for instance, the paper I'm asked to write, because it's such a big thing to do, and I think maybe the reason behind this is that the rewards is not as visible as in the other ones. And that like you start getting research and so on, and there is no like immediate reward for that.
Okay. Let's explore the options right now. What's a realistic option that you see about encountering these different types of assignments or these tasks that you have at hand? What's the best options going forward according to you?
I think that's really like per task different. So the one option would be to like write down the task that I have, which is the assignment, which is the readings for this class, of course, the paper, the San Francisco trip planning, as well as the San Francisco apartment planning.
And by writing it down, you mean like a checklist?
Yeah, exactly. I wrote it down, which I didn't do yet, which is kind of crazy. And then I said, okay, I think I just need a project management plan. What do I need for them? And when is maybe a deadline for a slice of that? More like a milestone. So.
And I want you to think about how you structure this checklist, because simply making a checklist is not in itself sufficient. There's a way you should be going about it, and you're the best person suited to address this question. So just think about how you're going to make the checklist and how you're going to follow through on that. So just think about that. Any other options that you foresee yourself indulging in to make sure that everything is done on time, or you don't have any worries? The bottom line is you don't have to be worried about anything, and anything that can help you with that is something that you should map out or think through.
I can extend maybe on my list with like reminders in my phone. I could ask another one to hold me accountable for it, but on the other side, I don't want to bother anyone with that, and I know I'm comfortable with like taking care of myself. So yeah, I would just maybe extend it through
reminders.
Ask Siri for it.
That's the best way to do it, I would say. And the first step you need to take is to build the checklist, right? That's what we just discussed. Is there someone, or is there anything I can do in particular in this regard? Is there something that I can help you with?
That you can help me
with
with?
the checklist.
I think I can do a checklist, and then we can. You can maybe remind me on how like, did you do it, and to check on me.
Mhm.
And then I will definitely tell you, oh, yeah, sure, I do it, and I can show it, or you, fuck, I forgot on that, sorry for the language, and yeah, and then I will be reminded.
Okay. So let's just make sure that we finish this checklist or build this checklist in a day or two. Or
Mhm.
what's the
Yeah, I
like,
will.
what's the appropriate time for you to build this checklist?
I'm comfortable saying, okay, I will have done this checklist by the end of this work week.
End of this work. That sounds good. That's all right.
Alright.
Let's just meet up for our next coaching session and make sure that you are doing what you're supposed to do, and let's build on that as well.
All right, thank you very much.
Pleasure speaking with you, Marcel.
Always.
All right. Good session. Start off good, strong. You ask him, you speak about what is it that can be evaluated. How confident does he feel? What's the level? No, sorry. I did it again. Yes, you. Good opening. You ask him how is he doing. How did he find the class? That was a good icebreaker. You know, both parties laughed. It helped him loosen up. As far as the question went, it was a G question, goal-oriented question. It was an open-ended question, and it allowed you to get insight. You further ask him about the goal. Is it short term? What would it look like? This question has to do with R, which is the reality. It's an open-ended question. You're seeking for insight. Sorry. He responds. He doesn't want to indulge too much leisure, winding down the program. You move on to ask. You summarize and then you clarify the goal, and you ask: is it something that he's encountered before, previously, or in the past? Open-ended question moves on to the O step of the grow model option. You're seeking for insight. He says, no, not really, not in terms of the quality of the work, but he just tends to procrastinate. And it's important for him to start the trek for the long term, and so on and so forth. You further ask him, in his opinion, is it hard to take up an easy way?
We speak about experimentation, maybe switching things up, because
No. This is on the fourth question. You
Okay.
speak about experimentation in the fifth question.
okay.
This is the fourth question where you ask him, in his opinion, is it hard to take up an? Well, it's centered around time management,
Okay.
right? And
So yeah,
How
this-
the tasks-
the first question was a follow-up question to the fourth question, which do you find more difficult, working on tasks that are pressing or working on tasks
yeah,
that
that's the fourth question.
Yeah.
The fifth question is when you ask him about why doesn't he try it in reverse? Because when you ask him that question, he talks about how doing immediate tasks doesn't pose a problem to him. It's tasks that are not immediate,
Mhm.
that the deadline is further down. That's what he has a problem with.
And that's why I recommend this experiment, if it makes sense.
But then that brings me to my observation there, because when you ask him about why doesn't he try it in reverse, starting with something that is not too pressing, right? And he kind of rejects the notion because he doesn't see the rationality in starting something that the deadline is further down the
Mhm.
line, you know. But he says maybe he could slice it down,
Yeah.
and I found it very hard to place that suggestion because I didn't know where he fell under the model, you know.
Mhm.
It sounded like a will or a way forward,
Mhm.
you know, but then it's a close-ended question
Yeah,
because
it's
you're
close-ended.
basically suggesting a solution to him.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
an alternative, because it's something that we have a certain way of doing things, all of us, and we are kind of stuck in that routine.
Yeah.
And sometimes changing things up, making it a bit more exciting and fun, can actually break that routine and help you operate more efficiently. It's just a thought I had, so
Yeah.
I feel that
Well, you know, just
I would share it with him.
specifically in what he just gave us, you know, he speaks about coaching context, and he says
Mhm.
be careful of the approach in general, Great or excellent coaching can be said to be less about information exchange and more about a manager being a thinking partner.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
so often the coach uses the coaching conversation to mostly give the learner the best advice.
Right.
This is what is meant by information exchange. Be careful of that approach to coaching. Be aware that the tendency to rely on information exchange is often based on a strong mental model about what coach's role should be.
Okay.
You understand?
Even
So yeah,
if I would say that we have to stick to this framework, but there has to be some flexibility built in to switch
that's the
things
thing.
around.
Like
Because
that's why the grow model exists.
Yeah.
Be careful about giving your own advice. You don't suggest solution. You don't suggest. Everything has to come from the coachee.
yeah,
You know.
That's
You
true.
know. Yeah.
That's
Everything has to come from the coachee. So you don't. So that's just
but I would still
The only thing
advocate
that-
for a bit of flexibility because then it's
yeah,
quite
but, yeah, but,
repetitive
yeah,
and
yeah. For now, let's just stick
Oh,
to
of course.
let's stick to the course material, right? All right, then you move on. You speak about all right. So let's find something that you know you can evaluate. You ask him how confident does he feel, and what's the level of confidence between tasks that are pressing and tasks that are not pressing, right? Of course, he talks about how he feels confident about those things that have not yet started and less confident about the paper in particular, which he has mentioned quite often.
Right.
You understand? So of course, this you're also giving him more options, but then it's difficult to place where it falls in the model. You know, is it an open-ended question? It's an option thing under the module, but is it an open-ended? Is it closed-ended? Are you trying to get to an action or an insight? That's hard to figure from
any other
the
options.
evaluation that you did. So I didn't understand what was the
Evaluation
But after
for
the
the
feedback,
level
you
of
can
confidence or
the evaluation of the confidence.
yeah, that was kind of redundant. I would say so.
Okay. So then you ask him, what's the best option to move forward in his opinion, right? So he speaks about categorizing and writing a checklist. Putting in place between San Fran and the tasks that have to be done towards. He summarizes and says it's about project management, right? So that's a very good question. It's an open-ended question. Then here again, you move on to suggesting a solution. You say maybe the checklist is not the best solution. So can he think about any other option? It seems to be a suggestion.
No, it's something he says that he's going to write it down, and I sort of paraphrase or have a definitive way of his. I'm translating what he's trying to say. He needs to put it down in words, or he needs to.
But what you say is maybe you're saying to him that maybe that checklist is not the best solution. So can he think about another option? So I'm trying to figure out what was the purpose of that, because together the coaching session you move towards a solution that's around a
I
checklist.
don't actually recall saying that the checklist isn't the best solution. My point that I was trying to make at the end was that this can't be a simple checklist. I was trying to motivate him in this regard.
Well, when you asked him about a different option, what he said is he could ask for someone else to help him keep that goal in mind, but he doesn't like bothering people with, he doesn't want to bother anyone. So that was the outcome of that exchange. Then you ask him if there's anything that you can do specifically, personally, to help him with the checklist, and he said, yeah, you could remind him by inquiring about it, and then that would be kind of like a reminder.
Right.
And then that's it. Then the conclusion is let's make sure we finish the checklist. And you ask him about what's the appropriate time. So here you're concluding with specifics, a specific timeline, a specific action, and the check and balance,
Right.
So, and you conclude end of next week. And then that's it. So yeah, it's generally a very good improvement from the previous sessions that we've had. Yeah, that's what I felt.
Thanks for your feedback.
Yeah, good session.